jump into it. Where's my little gavel? Hello, everybody. I'm Steve Baginski, this year's president of the Rotary Club in Nordonia Hills. Thanks for joining us
John
today.
Bosco.
Joined the meeting.
Oh, hi, John. Thanks for joining us. We're just starting the meeting. So I see John Graves isn't with us, so I'll go ahead. Does anyone want to do the invocation, or do you want me to?
You
Who
do a
wants to
good
pray?
job, Steve.
What's that?
You do a good job.
Okay, well, please bow your head in the spirit of prayer. Lord, thank you for bringing us together today. Please give us the strength and courage to battle through these tough COVID times and provide our clubs and all the Rotary clubs around the world with the knowledge and skills to provide our families and communities in need what they need and deserve. Please keep us safe during our journey so we can fulfill our mission of making the world a better place for all. And for all those of you enjoying food, please bless this food that you've provided us. In the name of the Lord Jesus, we give thanks. Amen.
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 Okay, and the Pledge of Allegiance. Debbie, could you pull up the flag, please? Please join me. I pledge of
Pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Debbie. Okay, and the visitors that we have, I have my daughter Amanda here. Thanks for joining us, Amanda, from up at Marblehead, Ohio, where I wish I was with you on this beautiful day. Any other guests? No? Okay. Okay, today in history. Very interesting patent was developed in 1903 on November 10th. A lady by the name of Mary Anderson filed a patent for the windshield wiper. I thought this was interesting because she filed a patent after riding a streetcar and noticed that they had to open up the streetcar and the operator would get all wet clearing off the ice of the streetcar. So while she was sitting there, she actually drew up a patent for this windshield wiper. Unfortunately, she introduced it to a Canadian manufacturer and they thought it was the dumbest idea in the world and said they couldn't make any money off it. And they denied her patent. Well, just 10 years later, almost every vehicle out there had a windshield wiper, but she never made any money off her patent. So I thought that was pretty sad and interesting at the same time. Also on November 10th, 1975, a huge cargo ship sinks on Lake Superior, killing all 29 members on board. Does anyone know who that cargo ship was?
Yeah,
Fitzgerald?
Yep,
the Fitzgerald.
Fitzgerald.
Mhm.
It was one of the largest cargo ships at that time. The ship weighed more than 13 tons and was 730 feet long. It was launched in 1958, again, as the biggest carrier in the Great Lakes and became the first ship to carry more than 1 million tons of iron ore through the Sioux Locks. On November 9th, they left Wisconsin with 26,000 tons of cargo of ore headed for Detroit. The following afternoon, Ernest McSorley, the captain of the Fitzgerald and a 44-year veteran, contacted Avabor, another ship, saying he's in the worst seas he had ever experienced in his life. The ship hours later ended up going down, and they still haven't figured out exactly what happened to the ship. One theory was the hatches on top were malfunctioning and the ship filled with water, causing it to list. Another theory is that the ship broke in half because the waves were so high that it hit the sea bottom or lake bottom and broke. Because at the bottom of the lake, the Fitzgerald is in two pieces. So pretty interesting story about the Edmund Fitzgerald. I actually visited a museum up in the UP when I was snowmobiling one time, talking about the Edmund Fitzgerald. One last little history that I thought was interesting was November 10th, 1969, a pioneering TV show that would teach kids and all generations to come the alphabet and how to count. Does anyone know what the TV show that was?
Sesame Street.
No.
Yep.
Oh, was it?
Yep, Sesame Street. And it's still airing to this day, so that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, you can count on them.
You can count on them, and that's right. Julie's always one for good, ba-boom, right. And it said one more thing, 1775 was the birth of the United States Marine Corps on November 10th. During the American Revolution, the Continental Congress passed a resolution stating that 2 battalions of Marines be raised for service as landing forces for the recently formed Continental Navy. The resolution, drafted by future US Presidents John Adams and adopted in Philadelphia, created the Continental Marines and is now observed as the birth date of the United States Marine Corps. That's all I have in history.
Oh, Steve, I have some local history.
Please do.
November 10th, 2002, Macedonia was hit by with an F2 tornado that went through town. And then in the morning, it hit about 7 o'clock, totally destroyed 3 houses over in the what we call Indian Creek near North Bedford and Ledge. Went up the top of the hill over by the airport streets off a ledge in Shepherd and severed trees, just severed them like somebody took a chainsaw. And that was, and then the whole city was in disarray. And then at 6 o'clock in the morning, the Adnato dentist office over on Route 82 next to AutoZone there,
Yep.
and Conrad's, next to Conrad's, was an arson fire, caused over $1 million worth of damage. Ron Nixon was on the call. He could tell you exact amount because he insured the building.
And
know
it
what,
was
Peggy?
almost, it was under construction. It was like
Right.
done.
It
So
wasn't
Right, it wasn't even finished.
But I know it was over $1 million worth of damage. So,
I actually lived close to where the tornado touched down. I lived at the time on Blackhawk.
yeah.
I lived there too. I
Luckily, nobody
lived
got
in Park.
hurt. I'm
Go ahead,
sorry,
Peggy.
Steve. I just said nobody got hurt or anything, just a lot of damage and destruction in the city.
Well, I remember it vividly. We lived in Park Ledge at the time, and I remember the sirens going off, and I sent my family in the basement, and you know, I'm like, I have to be the tornado watcher, so I'm standing outside and I'm looking out my sliding glass door, and it was, you always hear the calm before the storm, the ear. It was really weird. All of a sudden the wind stopped, and then it kicked back in, and I'm watching it, and all of a sudden I saw my trees. I had really tall, I forget what kind of trees they are, tulip trees, and they were all turning in a weird circumference. And I'm looking at this, and I'm like, I shut the door and I went downstairs and joined my family. And then after everything calmed down, I went up. I had 3 trees down in my yard, and it didn't even come directly through me. Like what it did, like Peggy said, it went through the Indian Creek estates, and the hill is right behind my house, and it kind of banked off that hill and went left into the airport streets. And yeah, the damage was really, really, really bad. I went over to my parents' house shortly after that to grab the chainsaw because I knew Macedonia was just in disarray, so I grabbed the chainsaw so I could clean up my trees that were in the streets. And driving through, it was just unbelievable what the damage was. And I drove right by that house that was totally destroyed in Indian Creek. It was bad.
I think it was on Navajo.
Yep. So
Interesting story about that storm. It indirectly created the 9 departments in Cuyahoga County to put in early warning sirens for tornadoes. But what also had happened, there was a woman that was trapped in the basement of her home. And one of the things she went down was that she had heard the sirens. And the reason the sirens were set off in Twinsburg was that they heard Walton Hills saying, it's coming through. You have another 30, 40 seconds to take cover. And we put together 9 communities for early warning sirens. Trivia.
yeah, we learned a lot during that one. That was that's right. You know, I forget because that was really weird because it was a November tornado, which you never have.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, that was crazy. Okay, moving on. I do not show any birthdays or anniversaries of any kind. Does anybody have any to add that I don't know about? November is a light month for birthdays in our group. Okay, I don't think, is Dr. Kunkel here today? I don't see him anywhere. So anybody have any jokes?
I do.
Oh, boy.
I know. So this is timely. This is timely. I looked up something in regards to what we were talking about.
Okay.
So a chess master died, and after a few days, a friend of his heard his voice. It was him. What's it like there? Where are you now? He asked. What do you want to hear first, the good news or the bad news? Tell me the good news first. Well, it's really heaven here. There are tournaments and blitz sessions going on all the time. Morphe, Lasker, Tall, Capablanca, Bondovic, I can't pronounce the names right. They're all here and you can play them. Fantastic, a friend said. And what's the bad news? You have black against Capablanca on Saturday.
Good luck, huh? Okay, thank you, Julie. Any are happy or sad dollars?
I have a sad dollar. Tammy Strong's husband died, Ken.
Oh,
What?
sorry to hear that.
Yeah, he had an infection because of a tooth and it went to sepsis and
Oh,
Wow. Our prayers are with him and his family. Thanks for that, Julie. Any happy dollars? I'll give a happy dollar. The Buckeyes won Saturday.
Browns didn't lose.
Browns didn't lose, Buckeyes won. So
Steelers won.
Steelers.
Yes. When
Oh,
you're from
boy.
Pittsburgh, you root for the Steelers.
Wow. All right. I just heard that there's like 5 players on the COVID list with the Steelers.
Probably.
Our quarterback's quarantined right now.
Yeah, but I think he's going to be released tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
So he doesn't have it. He just came in contact with somebody that did have it. So hopefully that doesn't happen. Okay, moving on. Our speaker today is our fellow Rotarian Lateef Saffore. Thank you, Lateef. I'm going to go ahead and let you give your own bio and introduce yourself because that's probably half of what you want to talk to us about. We're looking forward to hearing what you have to say. Everyone join me in welcome fellow Rotarian Lateef and our president-elect too. Thanks, Lateef.
Right. Well, hello, everyone.
Hello?
All right. So immediate past president John Bosco gave me a call and said, I think everyone needs to know who you are. I said, well, and didn't really give me a roadmap beyond that. So as Steve indicated, I'll be reintroducing myself and sharing a little bit more about me. And feel free to ask any questions as I go through this slide deck. I did it somewhat in a timeline so that I can hit some of the major points. All right, so who am I? Well, I was raised in East Cleveland, grew up United Methodist. Where I grew up in East Cleveland was there was a church on a corner. This church was a very community-oriented church. And at that time, it didn't matter if it was Baptist, Methodist, regardless of the denomination, it had a very strong outreach, particularly for youth. Had a basketball court, strong youth group. And this was my first opportunity for leadership. I was elected youth group president. And from that point on, somehow I just found my way into being president of organizations. I attended Shaw High School, played football for Shaw, My senior year, my junior year, we went 9-1. My senior year, we went 10-0. Was a member of the junior ROTC in school. This picture back there is our football field. Graduated in 1991. Interesting story about Shaw's football program. Over the years, football program has struggled since we went 10-0. But here recently, actually a coach that I played football with, who experienced this 10-0 victory, he's now the football coach, and they won the Lake Erie League title. He's very emotional about it because we all come from a time when we remember being victorious and experiencing some success. So it's just a great story to see that program back on top. After graduating from Shaw High School, I attended West Virginia State University, located in Institute, West Virginia, outside of Charleston, West Virginia. I was actually recruited by a substitute teacher at Shaw High School, who was a retired IRS agent. And he told me to seriously consider going to West Virginia State. And as history have it, I did that. Majored in biology, pledged a fraternity, Alpha Phi Fraternity Incorporated, worked in the financial aid office as a work study student, was an RA in the dorms, became a student leader on campus. And this is where I first expressed interest in science research. Coincidentally, I met my girlfriend, now wife, at school. We were college sweethearts. Graduated with a bachelor's degree in biology in 1996. Went on to graduate school at Marshall University, which is in Huntington, West Virginia. Actually, there's a movie called We Are Marshall that talks about the football team that was in a plane crash in the 70s that really shaped the school's history. That's a very sad and inspirational situation for the school history. They've done all they could to memorialize that football team in that time period. When I was there as a graduate student, Randy Moss, who was a very good wide receiver, was a college student there, was an undergraduate student. Didn't know him very well, but I do recall seeing him on campus. I double majored in biology in the master program and also in education, science education, K-12. I did my thesis on differentiating E. coli strains, bacteria from the environment. This was important during that time because beef was being contaminated by E. coli during that time. There were a number of outbreaks that didn't rise to a pandemic, but places like Jack in the Box and a few other restaurants had this E. coli scare. And so as a graduate student during that time working in the lab, I picked this topic to be able to know the difference between different E. coli strains. On the left, you have isolated colonies on a petri dish, and they turn color after 24 to 48 hours. But it's the same colony. The only difference is it was allowed to grow for 24 to 48 hours. Back then, trying to identify toxic or deadly bacteria from growing it on a petri dish was a really bad idea because it really didn't give you any clue as to what strain, what deadly strain, or whether or not the strain was of concern at all. you really had to do more DNA sampling. So on the right, I ran a gel. The 3 arrows show 3 different E. coli strains that I isolated from 3 different sources. And that's a more thorough way to determine whether or not contamination in meat is coming from an E. coli strain. And the key is whether or not the contamination is from a water source, from livestock drinking water. Is it a contamination from the plant production? Or is it your fast food service worker not washing their hands? And unfortunately, it was the latter that caused that E. coli outbreak. It was a hygiene issue that was discovered. So I graduated from Marshall in 2000 as a trained biologist. Came back home to Cleveland, and I discovered, even though we have this great body of water called Lake Erie, there were no jobs working off of Lake Erie. And so I had to use these skills to go back into the lab. I worked for a small bio startup company called Ridgeway Biosystems. And we were looking at cancer cells, trying to come up with a way to turn off the growth of cancer cells. I'm not going to go too deep into this, but we're talking about DNA and RNA, and DNA is like a puzzle, and you can genetically manufacture the puzzle to connect to the DNA strain to turn it off so that it doesn't grow. And that's how cancer have a growth gene or growth protein. And if you can turn it off, you can stop cancer from spreading through the body. This company was eventually bought out, and I don't know what happened to the actual technology, but we were making some great strides here with the science. Following my career there, got a job working at the Cleveland Clinic. Worked with a urologist who was interested in diabetes research and the bladder. Those who have been diabetic, some have experienced challenges being incontinent or having an overactive bladder. That unsuspecting rat over there is what we use to conduct our research. I'm being nice, but that rat is not just being shown because it's cute. It was on its way to make a contribution for science. And so we looked both at the molecular end and physiology end to try to figure out, is there a gene that we need to turn off or turn on to increase the function of the bladder, or do we need to use some other therapeutics? But the left shows a normal bladder, on the right shows an overactive bladder. An overactive bladder, you always get the sensation that your bladder is full and you have to use the bathroom. And it may not always be the case. It's just a sensation that you may get. But I did that research for 4 years. After that, I stayed within the Cleveland Clinic system, worked in a pathology lab. We had a proficiency testing contract with the College of American Pathologists. And what that is that each clinical lab across the country and areas across the world have to prove that they're proficient in diagnosing certain cancers. And so the Cleveland Clinic, we provided thousands of test material that we had to prepare so that labs would have to test this and guess or diagnose correctly the cancer. And if they failed first and it failed twice, then the lab wouldn't be able to perform that test. And so if any of you have had any test results done and they told you that they had to send them off to another place, that means that they are not qualified to run that test. On the left shows a normal kidney. On the right shows a cancerous kidney. The normal kidney cells are compact and tight, and the kidney cancer cells are ununiform or not uniform. And that's the major difference that you see when you look in a microscope. I bet you all didn't expect all this science. Okay, so my professional career from the Cleveland Clinic expanded from 2001, 2002, 2017. Represented the Cleveland Clinic during that time at a number of conferences, presenting my work, published in peer-reviewed journals. I submitted over 15 inventions to Cleveland Clinic innovations. I am now in the process trying to get 100% ownership. I don't want my fate to be like Mary Anderson, who didn't get her patents or what have you. But I am currently in the process of getting ownership at 100%. When you submit an invention to the Cleveland Clinic, they'll take care of all the fees and the paperwork, but they also take 60%. So, so I'm in the process of getting 100%. I became an advocate for the Minority Men's Health Clinic that is designed to encourage men to go to the doctor, all men of race and color. As men, sometimes we have to be prodded to go to the doctor. Or a lot of times our wives can be very convincing for us to go to the doctor. But I became a strong advocate of that initiative to make sure that men take a more invested interest in their health. If I didn't have enough education, I went back to get a PhD at the University of Akron, majored in urban studies and public affairs with a concentration in health policy and public administration. I wrote and successfully defended my dissertation on factors that influence Medicare reimbursement payments for health providers that admit diabetic patients. I know that's a mouthful, but what I learned is that the Medicare program, although it is a national federal program, but it's implemented really at the state level. And what I'm showing you here is the distribution of where all the Medicare contractors are located. And what I found is that all of these different contractors have different diabetic policies in terms of coverage. Some may cover certain tests, and other states may not cover those tests at all. Such as foot exams. Some of these contractors don't cover that. And I found that to be very disappointing, considering that the Medicare program is a national program by definition. And so if you're thinking about retiring and moving from Ohio to Florida, make sure you understand what's covered in your Medicare plans. And that may kind of dictate where you eventually go when you get ready to retire. So pay close attention to that. I graduated in 2011 with a PhD from the University of Akron. And so, like many, I've had some life events. I got married in 2003 to my wife. Her name is Daytundi. We have a daughter named Gabrielle, who was born in 2010. My wife is a pediatric dentist. Gabrielle is she's in a 5th grade. She's a rising scientist, president, pilot, orthopedic surgeon, and maybe something different today. So, she's also a chess player that we're gonna get her some individual training from our Rotarian here. We do own several businesses. Many of you know me from my Jimmy John's ownership. I am dedicated to leadership and community service. I do plan to go back into corporate America, maybe in some type of leadership role there. My community service is primarily through organizations that I had the privilege of leading. These are just a few organizations that I've led. Alpha Fraternity, undergraduate and graduate chapter, served as president. We've done a lot of food relief programs, food basket programs. We feed the elderly. We've given scholarships to high school graduating seniors. The National Technical Association I've led here locally as president. We've done mentoring. We've hosted robotics competitions, science fairs. I personally conducted a lecture and lab in science for youth who are interested in science. Health Legacy of Cleveland is a pipeline organization for aspiring physicians and dentists. We've also done mentoring there, scholarships. We actually partner with the Cleveland Clinic and would hold a Saturday Academy every Saturday for students who are aspiring physicians. And I've gave a lot of lectures during those times as well, also serving as president of the organization. West Virginia State University is my alma mater. I am the national president of the National Alumni Association. We also do recruitment there, mentoring, scholarship. You can see the pattern here of what my passion is in terms of community service. And I'm a proud member of this Rotary Club. And as mentioned earlier, President-elect, it's just been a privilege to serve a number of these organizations. I'm glad I'm able to do it with so many other people, and it's just not an individual initiative, but it's something that I share with the membership. I hope I didn't go too fast, but I didn't want to take all the time. And at this time, I'll entertain any questions. But that's maybe an abbreviated version of who I am and some of the things I've done.
Well, thank you, Lateef. Wow. I'm glad John had the foresight to have you come and talk to us, because we definitely know you better, and we're honored to have you as a member. And I think we did a great choice having you as our president-elect. Can't wait to see you bring us next year. I do have a question.
Sure.
How old's your daughter?
She's 10.
And she's a pilot?
She wants to be an airplane pilot.
Excellent. I think that's great.
Well, one of the things she wants to do.
Right. Well, good for her. I think that's fantastic. My big question, though, is since you're a graduate of biological science and hygiene, I'm very curious of your view on the new vaccine for the COVID virus that just came out.
Yeah, so I am an advocate of that. I do trust the science behind it. I did hear that some of these vaccines would be a 2-step process or 2-visit process. I am most concerned about that from a behavioral standpoint. As I mentioned earlier, it's sometimes hard to get people to the hospital, and to have them go through 2 cycles of being injected with the vaccine is a concern of mine in terms of the retention of that. And you may go the first time, but now I have to get you back the second time. But I think they can just fine tune that part of it, where you can get 1 vaccine, 1 visit like you can do for the flu. I think we'll have a higher incidence of individuals being vaccinated for COVID. And so, but I trust the science behind it. Pfizer just released news that their vaccine has about a 90% efficacy rate. Pfizer is one company that I trust. They have a very strong reputation in the science community. But you know, as with anything new, I like to kind of give it a while.
Right, right. Well, I mean, that was huge, because I did say that, I mean, they were hoping that it would be 60% or something. When it came out 90%, that was quite a feather in their cap, and I think it gave a lot of other people confidence. And that was going to be my next question, was the grace period between the two vaccinations. You know, like you said, someone can organize in their life to get the first vaccination. Well, they say within 21 days you're supposed to get the next. Is there any, do you know, I mean, maybe you don't, but is there any grace period? Okay, they say 21 days. Can you go a couple days earlier, a couple days later? Is it, or do you got to get there right at that 3-week period?
I don't know what the grace period might be, and I don't think anybody does until we start going through it. But that I don't know.
One last question that I have for you, and then I'll let someone else. What position did you play in football?
Play linebacker and tackle.
Okay, I was just curious. That was a good team. 10-0.
That was kind of hard to believe that he played that position, though.
Hey, you don't seem mean enough to play linebacker.
Well, I knew better not to try it in college. Let me say that.
You're smart enough to not do that, right? Any other questions for Lateef? Yeah, go ahead, Howard.
You're
Nope, you're
muted.
still muted.
I got it muted. Okay, now we got it. I see that you went to Akron University. I have been there, and I'm not so sure. It's been a long time. I'm not so sure I took any courses, but how did you find that college?
So that's a great question. I was going to go to Cleveland State, and so I applied to both programs, and Akron just seemed to be a lot faster with their processing, a lot more quicker with their decision, and so I just kind of chose Akron because they were just more. They seem to be more apt at turning around and admitting students.
Yeah.
And not only that, but Akron, Cleveland State, Kent, they were all part of this consortium. And so even though you go to Akron, you can also take classes at Cleveland State or at Kent. And so at that point, I just wanted to not have any delays. Once I made that decision to go back to school, I wanted to go immediately and not sit there idle waiting to see which one I was going to be admitted to.
Yeah, I always thought that wasn't a bad college, but I see in the paper that they've got some problems with the upper echelon, and just wondered how that affected anybody else on the way down.
Didn't affect me. I know the mayor and the president of University of Akron has always had some differences of opinion, and I think that was going on when I was there at Akron.
Yeah.
And I guess it didn't matter what president was at the University of Akron and what mayor was over the city of Akron. They just seemed to not really get along.
Wow.
I have a student, my son is actually there as a student. He'll be graduating in a couple of years. And another son of mine, Dominic, got a programming degree there and got a full-time job downtown at Sherwin-Williams. So he did great there. And my son that's there now, it has changed a little bit, and they've actually dropped a lot of classes because of COVID. And there have been some changes lately, but he's still enjoying his classes there at the moment.
Yeah, well, one of my top salesmen is a graduate of Akron University. So, yes, John.
Yeah, Lateef, I'm so glad I asked you to speak. I knew there was so much more to you than just making sandwiches at Jimmy John's. and you're talking about all this biology stuff and medical stuff, and it's completely over my head. But when I was in April, I had major cancer surgery at the Cleveland Clinic. It was the parotid gland, and they said it was so rare that they asked me to be in a clinical study because, you know, like you were saying, with the cancer tissue and everything, they wanted to see if radiation and or chemotherapy would work after the surgery. So you're one of these guys, you were one of these guys behind that the patients never see.
That's right.
I mean,
Right.
all I see are my 2 or 3 surgeons, but during my surgery, I guess they were taking tissue to the pathology lab
Yes.
to see if they got it all. And when it came back from pathology clean, then they stopped cutting my face up. But then I saw some of the bills from the clinic, and Medicare did not pay for a lot of the pathology stuff.
Right.
Why do you think that is?
Because the Medicare contractor that provides your coverage didn't expand their policies, you know, and so and that's what I was speaking to earlier. Because if you had that same surgery maybe in another part of the country, it might have been covered. And that is a coverage gap that needs to be addressed, regardless of who's in office. That needs to be addressed. You shouldn't have to undergo those surgeries and then worry about whether or not parts of it is going to be covered.
Well, thank you again for coming and talking to us today. Thanks again, Lateef.
You're welcome.
I've got a question.
I would like to say that Dr. Saffore and I are members together in 2 other organizations, and he did a great job today. And you all are fortunate that you got the short version, because once you give him the platform and let him talk, man, he can go on and on.
Lateef, I have a question.
Hey, go ahead, Debbie.
Yeah, Lateef, can you tell us about your invention? What did you invent?
I've invented quite a few things. I invented some laboratory gloves. A lot of times when you're in a lab and you're working with anything wet, it can be very slippery. So I created some gloves that have some special grips to them. And these are disposable gloves, but they never really had great grip. And a few other inventions. I invented some laboratory equipment to process slides faster, and more of an automated machine where you can stick a slide on one end and it stains and dries on the other end. Right now it's a manual process that's done. And so there was a moment where I was really dug in deep trying to invent a bunch of things. But I slowed up a little bit because I realized how political it was getting. But that's just 1 or 2 of the ones that I have invented.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's what's nice about Rotary. We keep the politics out of it. Anybody else? Well, Lateef, I think I speak for everybody that when we say thank you for letting us get to know you a lot better. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Okay, let's see. Couple announcements. One of the big things is I need some volunteers tomorrow for dating some cans at the Emergency Assistance Center. We did it last year, but last year we were able to bring in a whole big group of people, and we dated hundreds and hundreds of cans within just a few hour period. This is all from the Fill the Bus program that they did, and they have all these cans that need to be dated. Well, because of social distancing, now they're only bringing in 2 or 3 people at a time. So I need a few volunteers to go in tomorrow and date some cans for an hour or 2. Can anybody help me out? Don't jump all at once.
What time are you looking for?
And that's kind of up in the air because Joyce Hunt just said, let me know what time you can come in. Of course, we need to do it during the day. I was thinking maybe around lunchtime. And like I said, I could only bring in 2 or 3 people. And if I get enough volunteers, then I'll bring in 2 or 3 people today, and I'll bring in 2 or 3 people on Thursday. So that's why I'm asking for volunteers. So I saw John raise his hand in the background there.
I cannot do it at noon though tomorrow.
What time could you do
Either
it, John?
early, like maybe 10 to 11 or
Okay,
2 to 3, something like that.
okay, let's see. I'll email you because I'm gonna join you tomorrow, John.
Okay.
And if I can 10 to 11 or 2 to 3, let me check on my schedule because I'm trying to think if I had a meeting tomorrow or not. I'll drop you an email, let you know either 10 to 11 or 2 to 3.
Okay, and Steve, let me know if you guys can do the 10 to 11. I'd happily hop onto that.
Okay, well, let's just plan on 10 to 11 then, Jacob.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, that sounds
So it'll
good.
be John, Jacob, and I for tomorrow. Do I have anybody that can stop in on Thursday?
Thursday.
What time Thursday?
You guys can, I just need to let Joyce know.
So this is at the Emergency Assistance Center, right?
Yeah, right there in Northfield Center, right next to, right across the street from St. Barnabas football fields.
Okay, we'll see you there.
Okay.
I can go Thursday.
Can anyone help out Bill on Thursday?
I'm the lone wolf.
Okay, Bill, let me see if I can recruit some other players and I'll let you know.
All right, and then let me know the
What time
time.
works best for you, Bill?
Say
Lunchtime?
1 o'clock.
Okay. Okay, I'll keep you posted, Bill.
All right.
All right, I might just go ahead and join you. All right, so for tomorrow, we have John and Jacob and then possibly Bill on Thursday. Excellent. Perfect. Couple of other announcements. We still need gift cards. I've got some gift cards turned in. Thank you for all of that. I've dropped them off. But we still need a few gift cards to give to the families in need in our high school community. The gift cards can be dropped off to me here at Specialty Lubricants. Or if you need, just drop me an email and I'll pick them up. You know, we're asking for $25 gift cards, but even if you give $10 gift cards, I really don't care. We just need some gift cards so we can donate them. We need those gift cards by next Tuesday. So, so again, you can drop them off here at Specialty Lubricants. All you got to do is go in the front entrance and give them to the receptionist here at the front entrance. You don't even have to talk to anybody but her. She's behind glass. You can drop them off at my house, anything that makes it easiest. All right. The program, the dictionaries for third graders, good news, dictionaries have been ordered. We're bringing in 1,100 dictionaries that we're going to give to third graders. We're going to give them to Nordonia third graders and also St. Barnabas third graders. So those have been ordered. As soon as they get here, I'm going to need volunteers to put stickers in the back of the books because we like to put a sticker in the back of the book with the 4-way test. And then it says this book belongs to so-and-so, so they can put their own name in the book. And then the Rotary Club in Nordonia Hills in the bottom too, so they know who donated the book. So I'll let everyone know when those books are being delivered. They're being delivered here at Specialty Lubricants. The storefronts, we'll be working on those later on in the month. Looks like next week's speaker is going to be Tony. He's going to talk to us about his family and life and career and also chess. So we're looking forward to that. So Tony will be our speaker next week. We do have a board meeting this Friday, November 20th. Everyone's welcome to join our board meeting. Debbie will be sending out a Zoom link for that either first thing Friday morning or Thursday evening.
The
Reverse.
20th is next.
That's this Friday. You meant next Friday.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. What's the date today? I'm ahead of myself. Okay. Boy, I thought I was getting really busy this week. I just took some stress off my life. Okay. Yes, it is next Friday, the 20th. Perfect. And February 6th is our reverse raffle. So please keep that on your agenda. Any other announcements that I might have forgotten that somebody else wants to bring up? Excellent. Debbie, if you could pull up our four-way test for us. Rotarians, please join me in our four-way test of the things we think, say, or do. First, is it the truth?
Truth.
Second,
Second, is it fair to all concerned? Third, will it build goodwill and better friendships?
Fourth, will be
Fourth,
beneficial
will be
to all
beneficial to
concerned.
all concerned.
Thank you. Meeting's adjourned. Everyone enjoy the beautiful sunny 77-degree day. Thanks a lot.